Welcome to Boomhauer 69's channel, and today Boomhauer is just sitting out on his porch, enjoying the nice weather. Well, what can you do for free anymore these days, That's what I do. My father, when he was alive, and my mother, when she was alive, we all sat out on the porch being porch bums and watching the traffic go by and the world and stuff. My father used to sit in one of the lawn chairs on the porch and look at his magazines and newspapers and stuff. My father used to like looking at those magazines that sell cars and stuff, those like Auto Trader and the Michigan Auto RV books and stuff back in the day, and see what's for sale and different things. He liked to see what kind of cars are out on the market that he wished he could afford. But I grew up lower middle class, so we always lived kind of basic. Didn't have a whole lot of money, so we didn't do a whole lot of things as a family. And when we did, we learned to appreciate what we did. Like my family, a vacation was going up north to the Upper Peninsula, the UP, going up north. We called it going up north, up to the northern mitten. My dad used to like going to a place called Charlevoix in Petoskey area for a vacation, and usually it was only a little 2-day vacation, and that's what you got, and you called it good because that's all you could afford. It wasn't like we could afford trips to Orlando, Florida, to Mickey Mouse and all that stuff. And I would like to, even as an adult, visit some of those places sometimes, but I would probably more visit Universal Studios. I'd probably go to that one instead of the Mickey Mouse Disney. But yeah, I always thought it'd be neat to explore, travel to some of those places. But me, I'm just, when it comes to life and stuff, I'm just kind of a basic simpleton. I don't care to have all these finer things in life. If I was rich and loaded with money right now, let's say a millionaire, billionaire, whatever, I would just live pretty basic. I wouldn't worry too much about having all this fancy stuff. I wouldn't worry about having fancy cars and trucks. Like I wouldn't worry about having G wagons and Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces and Ferraris. I wouldn't have none of that stuff. I just wouldn't care to have that stuff. I'm not really into that stuff. If I was rich and low in money, I would the cars I would have would be like a vintage car from like the 1800s or 1900s. I'd have one of them at least, and then just a basic everyday middle class car. Like a Ford pickup or a small like Ford Fiesta or Dodge pickup or a minivan or something. I just basic. I wouldn't have a whole lot of fancy things and items and stuff. And I hope, if I ever did become a rich, well-to-do person, I hope I don't forget where I came from or my roots. That's when I think a lot of rich people happens is people become rich and they gain all this wealth and they forget where they came from, and then they turn into this kind of rich, snobby, snooby person. I don't want to be that. If I become a well-to-do person, I'm gonna spend my wealth helping people out. I decided to make the decision, instead of being some rich guy that has a ton of money and hogging all this money, I'm gonna be that well-to-do guy that's gonna try to help people out. Find the best way to help people, like give back. Like donate, maybe donate to some charities and stuff. Like I even thought about it'd be neat on YouTube here, do YouTube videos of donating a car to a thrift store. Going on the Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist and finding a pretty nice used car and selling it, and finding a nice used car, buying it, and then selling it at a thrift store. Or taking it to a thrift store and donating it. I thought that'd be a funny video to do sometime. And just tell them, hey, donate it to somebody that needs a vehicle. Or maybe like a homeless shelter or something, We don't, in my area, we don't really have a lot of like homeless shelter type places. We do have like a welfare office and a family like independent agency for people in need, like a welfare office, but we don't have, we just mostly have thrift stores that kind of help people out in need, and there's one that in my area called Pocket Change that I thought about it'd be funny to go to the lady that runs that Pocket Change and say, here's the keys to a car and title, and say, here's the keys and titles to this car, I want to donate it and give it to somebody in need, I thought it'd be kind of fun to do stuff like that. And that's what I would do if I was a well-to-do person. That, help people out. Like maybe like let's say, for example, some family, lost their home for whatever reason, build them a home and give them, give back and because I remember growing up as a kid, when my mother got really bad sick and stuff, and we had to get help. There's people out there that helped us, and to me, I'd want to pass on the buck. When I started making money, I had when I didn't have a vehicle to drive and stuff, and couldn't afford a vehicle, I had somebody give me a vehicle to help me out. One time, and so in this vehicle I had gotten for free, I ended up giving it to somebody else once I got a better vehicle to drive. I ended up giving the car free to somebody else for them to drive around and enjoy. But and the person that I gave it to, they were a missionary group, and a missionary, I should say, and he was able to use the car. Well, he actually couldn't use the car because it was too far gone, but he sold it and then took the money to help him buy a car that he could use and stuff. And so, and I'm just that's the way I'd want to be as a well-to-do person. Just kind of help people and give back. Don't like I would love to, like I see these YouTubers do these videos, you know, giving somebody a wad of cash. Say here's a buttload of money, and they go in the store and say here's a buttload of money. You got so many hours to spend as much as you want, buy whatever you want and those kind of videos. And I think that'd be kind of fun videos to do, if I had the money and the wealth to do it. Give somebody like $500, say here's $500, be in a Walmart and say here's $500, buy whatever you want in the Walmart store and do those sort of things. Because I think that would be more fun to do. Because as a person, when I think about being wealthy, I don't want to be that guy that just hogs his wealth and say, oh, it's my money, you don't get any of it. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be like on the TV show Homer on The Simpsons, the animation cartoon show The Simpsons, Mr. Burns, if you ever watched that show, I wouldn't want to be like that Mr. Burns or like the TV show Family Guy and Peter Griffin and Lois Griffin's father, the wealthy guy, Cotter Peter Schmidt, I think is his name. I wouldn't want to be like those type rich people, I'm not going to be in the. If I became wealthy, I don't want to be the rich, stuck-up Snoopy Scrooge, like the Christmas Carol story, I don't want to be a Uncle Scrooge. I want to be a good person, and I would be that kind of wealthy person that would get back. If I saw a homeless person on the street, I'd like, here's some money, go get yourself help or whatever, and be that kind of person, Like I even thought about, and I talked about this on YouTube before, and you can check my previous videos, past videos I made about building tiny houses for the homeless. I think we need to do something like that, but the thing is with doing something like that, it's like, okay, you'd have to find out where the homeless person is staying at, and could you get away with setting something like that up where they wouldn't get bothered, like a small little tiny house, like basically taking like a small like 8x8 shed structure and making it where they could camp in it and help them kind of get off the streets, and if I had the money, I'd probably, if I was going to do something like that, I'd probably just get like buy a piece of vacant lot in like the two towns next to me. Maybe get a big buy a big like the one town next to me. Maybe buy a big vacant lot and turn it into a big cement parking lot area and let homeless stay on it if I could, and help people. I do understand, when it comes to certain homeless, you obviously can't help them out, but I would try my best, I wouldn't turn people down, like, for example, I wouldn't turn down a drug addict person, if a drug addict person came up to me and said, hey, I'm homeless, I'm addicted to drugs, yada yada, I'd help them and say, okay. If they said, hey, can you give me money, I'd probably say, no, I'm not going to give you money, but I'll help you get into rehab, because sometimes, money is not always the answer, and so you'd have to figure out what's best suited for them. Like if I built like a tiny house village, rich and stuff for homeless people, I wouldn't have a whole lot of strict rules. I'd just have the basic rules where, hey, as long as you're not doing drugs and alcohol and all kinds of marijuana and tobacco products on the premises, you'd be fine, And I'd also have it set up where they could go to these, and I'd have some like maybe office job construction office trailer set up where they could go and talk to somebody from the state and get the help they need, to whether it's welfare or getting the mental help they need, and it'd be neat to do those sort of things. I even thought about this church next door to me. If I was rich and loaned with money, and the church organization that owned it said, oh, we don't do much with that church, we want to sell it, hell, I'd buy the building and put a kitchen in there to serve meals to the homeless, and maybe get it set up where homeless could come there and chat with somebody from the state and get the help they need, and different things. This building you couldn't really do like a homeless shelter because it's be too small for that, and I probably wouldn't do it there. If I was going to do some sort of like living quarters in that church for somebody, I would do living quarters for like missionaries that, live in Michigan and they need a temporary place to stay while they visit family while they're on break from their missions organization and stuff, That's what I would do there. And then for the homeless, I would just have like a kitchenette area where they can come and get a free meal, and maybe a little office space for like a caseworker type welfare, a welfare worker, or state office worker that handles homelessness and families in need, where they can come and talk to somebody and get the help they need, the professionals, And the thing is I would like to do some of that stuff, but I just don't know how to get that stuff off the ground and make a dream, basically a pipe dream, as a lot of people in my world used to call it, a pipe dream. Make a pipe dream a reality, like the tiny houses and like I talked about, the horseless carriage and stuff like that. I just don't know how to make those dreams a reality where it would help make my life successful and get me out of the predicament I'm in right now with my life, and help grow myself as a person and everything, Like I noticed, like with this YouTube thing I've been doing, at first I didn't know hardly anything about YouTube or certain video editing programs, and so far I messed around and it's helped me grow as a person in the YouTube, and I like that because I thought to myself, well, I'll do YouTube videos, and maybe that might help get some of my ideas out there and off the ground and into a reality type mode, maybe, maybe it would help me down the line get the money to do a lot of the things I would like to do, and I hopefully it does, and that's why I really appreciate people who subscribe to the channel and watch my videos and stuff, because that definitely helps me out, and I really appreciate that, and I thank you for that and stuff, and you people are going to help me make my dreams and ideas a reality, and stuff. I can't do all the stuff I'd like to do, obviously I'm only one person, so I would do what I figure is most important, Like, for example, this church next door to me, I think it's really important to save the building and try to fix it up and make it nice, whatever the case may be. Even if I couldn't afford, even if I couldn't buy that church, I'm like, oh no, but and they didn't want to sell it to me, or I couldn't buy it or whatever, that wouldn't bother me. I'd still give them money to fix it up and make something of it, and instead of just letting it rot in the ground and go bye bye, and I know the people that own that church are in the process of think about, okay, what should we do with that building? What should we have there and stuff? So because the people that own this house and church, I live in a church parsonage house. This is what they call a parsonage house. I live in a church parsonage house, and I just pay rent to the church next door to me. And that's how this church makes money, is me paying rent to them, and that's how they basically get an income. And I know the people that own this house and church for many, many years. Well, the lady, she her she knew my grandpa for many years, because my grandpa's one childhood friend was her brother, and her families were farmers that lived around me. And matter of fact, her dad actually sold my grandpa the property I used to live on when I was a kid, because my grandpa bought from her father some land, and it had a house on it, and my grandpa lived there until the house was no longer livable. And then in the 80s, my grandpa on this property let my dad put a mobile home trailer on the property, and then that's how I ended up living on the property. And so I knew these people for years. The lady was actually my next door neighbor for many years. She was the one that drove my mother to the hospital when my mother was pregnant for me, when my mother was pregnant and having me as a kid in the 1990s, and she was one of the first ones to hold me as a baby, because the reason why my father couldn't drive my mother to the hospital, because my dad was at work. He was working and doing his duties as a father, bringing in the income, supporting the family, doing what he's supposed to do, and so he was at work and couldn't take my mother, and so they called, I guess my mother somehow got a hold of my father at work, and the work told him, hey, your wife is having your baby and you gotta go to the hospital, and then that's how that all worked out. But yeah, and I know these people for many years, and her oldest son had talked about some ideas, and the end goal is of that building is to actually fix it up. It's just, okay, how do we get the funding and how do we get the money? That's why I made those videos about the churches, hoping that they would somehow generate income to help fix that church up and say, okay, here's some little bit of money coming in, let's try to do something. Even if it was only $50 a month, heck, I would definitely donate money and stuff. Even if it was only $50 a month, I'd give them, here's $50 that I made off those church videos, and help them out and stuff. But yeah, and that's the thing. And another thing I do plan on doing too is later on I am going to make a PayPal account and set up a PayPal donation thingy for my YouTube channel, so people can donate to my YouTube channel if they want to. I'm in the process of doing that too, so a few people, well, later on when I do get that set up, I'll let y'all know more about that. I do plan on making a PayPal donation account thingy so people can donate money and support the channel here, in Boomhouse 69 channel, like all other YouTubers do, and then if people want to donate a little bit of pocket change or whatever to the channel, and then what I would do is, through that PayPal account as well, I'd also take the money and give some money to the church to help them out, 'cause the people who run it, the organization that legally owns the church, and the head of the church, like I guess you call it president or whatever, I forget what they call him. I forget. Blake Jones is if I remember right, Blake Jones is the head of the Bible Methodist Church and stuff. I'd, give them the money to help donate and stuff to fix up the church, because I hate this church next door to me is over 100 years old, and I just would hate to see it have to be demolished and demo. It's part of Cenex history, and I'd love to be able to help make it something again. I talk about the ideas I'd like to do, but frankly, if I couldn't do them, I wouldn't bother me too much as long as somebody did something with it instead of just letting it go. That's what I always hate to see, and I hope someday I can do that. I am in the process of setting up a PayPal donation account thingy to help support the channel, and some of the proceeds would probably go to the church, or somebody, I don't know how that all works out, the PayPal donations, thing. I gotta educate myself on that stuff and look into it and see how it does, because some of the YouTubers I watch, they have a little PayPal link icon on their Facebook, on their YouTube channel page, where you click on it and you can enter in a dollar amount and donate to their channel and stuff. And I thought that would be neat to do with my YouTube channel, but I just gotta figure out how that all works and how it does, because I don't know anything about PayPal, because I never used it before, and figure it all out. And then if somebody came across those videos and then they saw the PayPal link and they said, hey, I want to donate to this church, and they had a way to private message me somehow or say, hey, I want to donate this amount to the church, and I would take that money and give it to the church and stuff. But yeah, because if I do a PayPal account link donation thingy for Boomhauer 69 channel here, it's gonna go into the YouTube channel itself. It's not gonna be one of those going out and just doing stupid crap and with the money and end up not doing anything on YouTube. Any money I make on YouTube, a good portion of that's gonna go towards back into investing in the channel and growing the channel and giving people content to see and stuff. So yeah, 22-minute video here, so I'll end this video. Again, thank you all for watching. If you ain't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to Boomhauer 69's channel. I really appreciate it, and hope you all have a good day, and thank you for watching.